Hello and welcome to Dance Talks. I'm your host, Andrea Cody. Today is July 17th, 2020, and my guest is LeAndre Douglas. LeAndre, welcome to Dance Talks.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
So,
I actually do not know this. How did you start dancing?
How did I start dancing? Okay, so I actually started dancing because in 7th or 8th grade, there was this school dance, and by far the ugliest guy in our school. He wasn't very attractive, but at this party he could dance, and he danced really well, exceptionally well, and I was kind of captivated by that, mainly because by Monday, so the school dance happens on Friday, right? So you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday. By Monday, all the girls were still talking about him dancing.
Yeah.
And by lunchtime on Monday, he had a girlfriend. Now, she was not the prettiest girl in the school, but she was up there. She was not, unattractive by any means, even in 7th grade or whatever it was. And during lunchtime, they're asking her, like, why are you dating him? Like, what's up with that? And she was like, he could dance. And all the girls was like, yeah. And that was it. And I was like, I need to learn how to dance. Because not only was it captivating just to see somebody move, but the fact that his physical features had nothing to do with him getting a girlfriend. It was just the fact that he could dance. So that's initially why I started dancing. This is like 7th grade.
Right.
So when we would go to like teen nights and all the parties, the guys that could dance the best got to dance. And when at the end of the night, there were slow dances. The guys that danced all day, like the whole time, they were the ones that girls was going to when the slow songs came on.
Oh my goodness.
So I wanted to be a part of that life.
Yeah.
So that's how I initially got into dance.
Right.
I just wanted a girlfriend.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. We're going to take a commercial break. Thank you so much. I'm going to gather myself. Ooh.
Oh my gosh. Woo. It's hot in here. Okay. So my kids are in dance for this dream I have for them.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Just so they could just be able to not be socially awkward.
I mean, so that they will one day see a girl or boy and offer their hand and say, do you want to dance? And
let the magic happen.
Yeah.
Like Beauty and the Beast. I feel like they fell in love when they started dancing. Like when they was like on the dance floor.
Left hand turns.
On that grandiose dance floor.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, he could waltz. Or foxtrot or whatever that was. Yeah.
I think it was a waltz. I'm pretty sure.
I feel like the song is not in 3/4 time. But it looked like a waltz because it was a foxtrot. And they looked similar. They're just 6, 7, 8, done. Yeah, it's a foxtrot. Yeah. So, I teach so many couples who are getting married. And so often, one or both of them have never danced. And it's like...
Really?
Taking it from the top,
Now, are these
already there?
Are these white people? Mostly.
Most of them.
Because I just feel like it's a thing to where dance is one of these arts that everybody is going to encounter sooner or later.
Yep.
Like there's always going to be a situation in everybody's life where dance is expected or like a necessity, whether it's a wedding or some kind of celebration or something like that. And when you talk about couples dancing, like, oh, I've never danced. Like, you've never been to a club. Like, you've never been to, like,
a fifth grade dance.
Yes, like
prom.
I just find it odd. But
I think they can tree dance. That's what one of them called it. They can sway back and forth with their arms around each other, but they specifically say like, we don't want to just sway back and forth, or we have no rhythm, or like, just how do you do it?
Yeah, I get it. This sway back and forth. That was my favorite.
I mean, that's a good move.
I did all of that stuff just so I could do this. I didn't want to. When it's this time, I've done all the dancing that I'm going to do right now.
You earned the spot.
You know what I'm saying? I'm good right here.
Got in the right company.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Cool. Okay, so then how did you learn all these moves and get there.
My smooth moves. So yeah, as a kid, this guy named Muhammad. So when I was telling you about the teen nights we were going to, it was actually at Funplex. It was like the Zone. It was called the Zone.
Funplex.
Yeah, it was called the Zone. So it was Friday night. It's like from
so
like 6:30 to 11 or 7 to 11 or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And one of the guys who was the best dancer, his name was Muhammad. He actually had a collection of tapes, VHS tapes of Electric Boogaloo's, Rocksteady Crew, Skeeter, it was Skeeter Rabbit, Wiggles, Poppin' Pete, all kind of like videos like that, like poppin' and breakdancing videos. But I got real close with them, real friends, because they were the best dancers. I'm like, how are they the best dancers? I would go to their house after school, found out that they was watching these tapes,
right.
And so we started borrowing these tapes. It was like 5 or 6 of us, 3 tapes. So every week we had to dispense the tapes, and we would practice what we saw from the tapes. Poppin' Taco was another tape. That was one of my favorites.
So were they educational tapes or just dancing?
It was just them dancing, like just clips of them dancing in a club or a show or on the street or whatever. But it was there. Now Wiggles had more of an instructional tape, like it was like floor moves, and then he didn't necessarily teach them. He just kind of did them, and like floor combinations, whatever. And you kind of interpreted it, rewind it, play it back, try to figure it out. But yeah, that was my initial education, was the VHS tapes, which is why I don't really get mad at people that learn from YouTube, because to me it's kind of the same thing. But I think the difference is I actually seek those people out and found out where they were and started going to their workshops and developing relationships with them. So
cool. My
initial learning was these VHS tapes that we shared amongst each other.
Yeah. So did you go to dance class?
Did I go to dance class? Not coming up. I didn't take my first dance class. First of all, hip hop, and for hip hop and popping, there were no structured classes, especially in the South. For these, there was just these tapes and us practicing, and YouTube was just peaking, so you could get a little bit of that. But it was with your peers. We just met up and we would battle. We would look at the tapes. We would, if there was a battle and they recorded it, we would go to the event, buy the tape.
Oh yeah.
And then watch the battles back and battle each other to sharpen our skills. Right. But there were no classes. It was all street. The only class would be considered a class was the club. We would go to either the teen clubs or like the clubs we could get into. It was like one called Coco Loco. Club Coco Loco. It was like on Richmond, and Hush, which was like off of I-10.
Yes.
You remember
that? There were different clubs that I went to. So for me, it was I remember those. Yeah. Okay. And
Roxy. Roxy off in Westheimer. So all these clubs.
That wasn't my like jam. Like I was into ska and punk.
Ska? You like ska?
I went ska dancing every night, really? Like from '93 on. Yeah.
I just learned about ska maybe like 3 years ago.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ska.
Yep.
But anyway, we would go to those clubs, and that's where we would get our education. Like you would battle or you would dance, and you knew if it was good or not based on the people watching you. So we would record ourselves dancing in the club, right? So we would sneak in the camera or be like, have a relationship with the doorman or whatever, and we always got in free because they knew we were like the dancers or whatever. So we would get in with these cameras, these big cameras, and record ourselves dancing in the club like what we saw on the tape. And I don't know where these tapes are. My brother said he had some of them. Yeah, but I don't know.
I have a box of VHS tapes in my garage of like every swing dance ever. Up until like 95 or 6, like when I got into it. But I mean, like that. I mean, I was dancing to ska music, wanting to know what more I could do, and I was already dancing with my friends out there, like twirling them around, and I was like, there's a dance to that, you know? Yeah. So sure. Started collecting my VHS tapes, and they made the rounds for sure.
Yeah, and Joel was there too. Joel was coming to the club. Joel was going to Roxy.
Joel Rivera.
Yeah, he was coming to Roxy, and he was friends with. We shared a mutual friend, named Julian, and Julian Embers, and I
know Julian too. Yeah,
right. He was the best among us.
Awesome. He's doing great. Where is he now?
I don't know.
Okay.
Last time I saw him, he actually stayed not too far from here.
Uh-huh.
I ain't trying to tell you business, but he stayed not too far from here.
So
over there down the street somewhere.
In that era, like I grew up with live music, being in a band, and like that's all I wanted to do was go dance to live music to show my appreciation to the band. That's what made me want to dance, was like, you're sounding good, or like I'm smiling at you, like keep playing that music. And so those clubs, as far as I knew, were DJ'd, and I wasn't interested.
Right. Yeah, no, they were all DJ'd, and that's where we sharpened our skills. We would record each other, and then you wouldn't look at yourself dance, you would look at the audience. Like, so if people were dancing and they were looking at you, or you had somebody looking at you, you knew you had something. Right. And if nobody was watching you dance, then you suck. And that's how that's how we, like, okay, this move don't work. Did you see what they did when I did this right here? That's a no. Right. And that's how that was our class. Right. I didn't take my first actual professional class until after I graduated high school, and I was maybe like 20, 21. And it was a ballet class, and I actually bartered my first classes. I was like, hey, teach me ballet and modern, and I'll teach your hip hop classes for free. And it was like more like popping and a little breaking at the time, but it was, I'll teach these street classes for you if you let me take your ballet classes and your modern classes.
And so when and where was that?
This was Southwest Dance Academy. This was also in Houston, and when I was 21, so coming up on maybe 11, 12 years ago. Yeah. Cool. And that was my first introduction to a class structure.
In the era of live music and all ages clubs, it was about catching the eye of the band members for sure. Yeah, that's how you knew that, and where people would let you be, because it was such a more aggressive place that you would literally just get elbowed out, if you weren't
like a mosh pit type of situation.
If you weren't supposed to be front and center, right in front of the lead singer, you would get elbowed out. So you'd have to I would have to dance to maintain my position, because otherwise I was gonna be in the back.
I know what you mean. Yeah. No, we didn't really have many live band situations, just because of the way the music was structured at the time. Yeah. And I wanted to sing along to all the songs to let the band know that I know you. These songs. I heard you. I know that I follow you. I'm a fan. Yes. Let me stay right here.
Yeah.
And which one of y'all?
And
which one of y'all?
Let's talk. Yep. It was fun. Okay, so is that it? That's kind of how you learn?
As far as class? Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how I got my basis. And then after that, of course, I went seek these places out. I got under some people here, Chris Gomez and the good folks over there at Havoc Choral were kind of my first teachers for street styles like hip hop and breaking more. And then that's where I met Chris Gomez, this guy named Chris Gomez, who was mentoring me and Chris Thomas together, and that's how we started linking up and doing shows and tours and stuff together.
Okay, so tell me that first step into professional performing.
I just asked the question, honestly. So I was dancing at this event. My cousin invited me to dance at her church. She was like, hey, you dance, can you come dance at my church? And I was kind of all right, whatever. She kind of begged me, basically, just come, it would be really nice and stuff like that. So I came, I danced at the church, and this guy who knew Chris was like, yo, man, you really dope. You should link up with my guy, Chris. And I was like, who is that? He's like, oh, he's this guy, he dances, he's been all around the world, da-da-da-da-da. Y'all should link up, he could probably help you. Who is that? I can't even remember that guy's name. But anyway, he texted him, gave me his number, and I called him for almost a week straight. before I even got an answer. Like, I would call and go to his voicemail, and he'd be like, hey, who's this? I was like, hey, I met your friend. You know, I'm a dancer. I would like to dance. They told me that you were the person to talk to, that you had all the insight, stuff like that. And I think I texted him for maybe call and text off and on for like a week with no response or very little response. And then one day he was just like, hey, come to this show that we're doing. It was over in not the Heights, but what's the not Memorial. It's what's the area?
Garden
River Oaks.
River Oaks.
It was a show in River Oaks. And he was like, hey, just come here. And I had to catch the bus. And I caught the bus. I'd never been to River Oaks before. And I'm like 20, I'm 20, 21, something like that. I catch the bus to River Oaks. I get the MapQuest, catch the bus, miss the stop, and then I don't know how, but the stop didn't look familiar, and I was like, I don't think this is right. I get off the bus, lost, trying to figure out the directions, and my gut just led me, and I walked maybe 3-4 blocks, and then there it was, the school, and I was like, okay, I found it, cool. So I get there, and I'm like, hey, and Chris is there. Chris works for Chris Thomas. Young Chris is already there working for Chris, and I had seen him off and on because we were both teaching classes at Bally's at the time. It was Bally's, and I had went to his class, and then I had a class.
Cool.
But Chris was not trying to mess with me at the time. He really wasn't. And I show up, and he's there, and I'm there, and I'm like, hey, Chris. He's like, what are you doing here? Like, he think I'm following him, and then Chris Gomez is like, no, he's coming. Okay, show me what you got. So I dance at this show for free, and he's like, okay, you're pretty good. Like, start coming around. So then he invites me to more, and then starts, paying me to come out and dance and doing these gigs and these shows. And it was during the daytime. It was like school shows, and then he was like, hey, do you want to teach? And that was my basic introduction to professional, whatever. He had already had a company that had a contract with the U.S. Embassy that had been traveling the world and stuff, and I just basically bugged him until he gave me a job. Yeah. And that's pretty much how I got in. That's how I started. And then he taught me and Chris the business of that stuff.
So did you get to travel internationally through the embassy contract?
No, because by the time, not with him, but by the time that stuff started happening, it was going to other stuff. But we did do, I mean, we did travel, and we traveled quite a bit, but no, by that time they did some merger thing and split up, and I don't really know the details of that, so I ain't gonna touch on it. But no, by the time I met Chris, they were phasing out of the embassy contract. Okay. But they were still traveling. So
it was kind of like the next highlight.
Yeah.
For you? No, what was the next highlight?
What was the next highlight for me?
In your career, Big break, big move. Got in a plane.
Yeah, but it's kind of hard to say, cause a lot of things start happening. I would say, even while I was traveling, or after, like, that's a hard question. I don't know. Motown Review, I would say that.
Okay, cool.
That was a pivotal thing because the first year I really, like, one of my dance teachers and a lady that I work with, her name is Miss Yvette, she was like, hey, you should audition for this show. It's it's like a concert thing here, and I'm young. I think I'm early dating myself. I'm thinking I'm saying 2021 when this stuff is happening, but I'm thinking maybe I was like, no, I was 22. I was 22 when I found out about Motown Review, And I did the first year, it was great, and then the next year it was another choreographer that came on, who was, from like this performance school and era, and she had, performed and done these, big grandiose shows, and Chris was the assistant. Chris was the assistant choreographer.
Young Chris?
Yes, he was the assistant to her.
Cool.
And so I was dancing with my friend. I was learning from her, and it was just fun. Like we.
Tell everybody about Motown Review.
So Motown Review is a show that happens in Houston that basically goes through the era of Motown until current, or not till current, but basically goes. It's a review of all the things that they did, and it has lights and dancing, and they add production value to that. It's a free show at Miller Outdoor Theater.
Every Memorial Day weekend.
Right, every Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
And that was the first time I had performed in front of thousands of people at one time.
Right.
I think it was like 30,000 people from a 3-day weekend, something like that. And it was packed. And that was the first time I got on stage. And I remember because I didn't understand performing the first year I did it, because they wanted me to wear this costume. And I was like, this is not me. I hate this costume. I'm not wearing this. And I had to get a lecture. Like, they was like, listen, you're not you. You're this character. And this character wears this clothes. And I was just begrudgingly like, and it was a solo. Like, I was like, I don't care. I don't want to wear this outfit. And I remember, getting kind of schooled about that. And that was like my first like big theater thing. And then then from there, I just kind of rode that momentum, and then I started doing all these other theater shows, and then that's how I got into like just theater shows in general, like things off of Broadway and whatever. I was still traveling and learning, and like traveling in New York, and I wasn't talking to anybody, but I was going to clubs and going to classes, and like that's when like it was kind of like, okay, who is this guy? Keep showing up every summer trying to, whatever.
Yeah.
So I was learning all of that and taking these different classes, and then coming back with that information. So I was getting better and better at theater stuff, like theater dance, and started learning about Fozzy, and I just wanted to be great at it, because I was like, yo, if I'm gonna do this, then this is kind of, whatever. So I think that would be the next like pivotal thing, to actually be like, oh wow, I can really perform, because when I got in front of that crowd, I was performing. Like it was a lot of people, and that was like at 22, that was my first time doing something on that level, on that statue, like on that type of stage.
Awesome.
Yeah. So.
And there's a band and singers.
Yes, it was a band and singers. The whole it was a production.
Yeah. It's long too. There's like a lot of big dance numbers.
Yeah. When we were doing it, it was a lot more big dance numbers and a lot more stunts. So yeah, it was physically demanding, but we had the youth for it. We was 22 doing that show, so yeah.
Awesome. Then what? Yeah, bring us.
I don't know, so many
journey.
things. Like I feel like I gotta like get my resume out and just like, oh yeah, I did that. And I did the Sprite commercial, and then I did the like.
Well, it's like obviously you didn't just like join a company and dance in a company for a decade. So you've somehow pieced together,
Yeah, just random like ragtag gigs, and then from.
Do you have a manager?
I had a manager for a brief moment, but
how did Sprite find you?
I don't know. They just I don't I cannot remember. It's just like I'll get a random phone call from people. It'd be like, hey, I got this thing coming up, or this music video, or like just saying yes and just showing up to places.
Contribute a lot to your network and like their relationship with Music World Entertainment?
No.
Okay.
So Music World Entertainment, they didn't kind of link up with Matthew Knowles until I was definitely the choreographer. I worked my way up to the choreographer, and that relationship that they had wasn't really solidified from the beginning of my journey. And yeah,
okay, yeah,
right. But Motown did help my visibility because 3,000 people every night saw me.
Right.
It was like, who is that guy?
5,000.
So yeah, 5,000 people a night. It's like, who is that guy? And then just being like always around and going to different things, and just I kind of took a approach of like, at that time I was married, and I was just like, I just need these gigs to just keep coming in, so I would just keep digging and finding and searching and like just making myself visible as much as I could. And yeah, if something came to Houston, I was trying to be a part of it, and I think that was really what it was. And my network was just trying to be around as many different types of people as possible, types of dancers as possible. But yeah, I think I need to pull out my resume so I could.
Worst gig ever.
Worst gig? Oh God. Dancing? Okay, so it was a bar mitzvah, and I was dancing at dang, I don't even want to say this company's name because it might be slanderous.
Nah.
But
Leave it out.
Okay, so anyway, it was this venue.
In my head.
I doubt if you did. You'd never guess it,
right.
Because this is not a place you should have a party under any circumstances. But the ceiling was like this low.
Okay, your hand is right above your head, a foot above your head.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
The ceiling is really low, and it's a concrete floor, and it's a concrete, like outside concrete, and it's like slanted and whatever, and they just kind of built a structure around it, like a party room, and there was very little AC in there, and we called it the Taco Hut. Like, we was like, why they got us dancing in the Taco Hut? And it was just like, it was just terrible. Like, we couldn't, glass was breaking, like people kept breaking glass, and it was like, I'm not performing on this dance floor, like, or dance floor. I'm not performing in this glass broken up, little shards of glass. Like, we're break dancers. We gotta put our hands on the floor and like slide on our knees. And like, that's not happening.
Whoa.
And then it was bad. The equipment kept going out because of it didn't have enough infrastructure to hold the power of the speakers, and it was hot, and it was I did not enjoy that one at all.
Got that one over with.
That was the worst one. But then it's like, you have like Day for Night Festival, and doing a lot of opening for like Kendrick Lamar, and it was a lot of people. But
what'd you do for Kendrick Lamar?
I opened for him. Like,
just
me and 3 other dancers. And
cool.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
What was it like?
How'd you get it? What was your act? Your show?
I got a phone call, and they said they needed more black people. To be honest, that's what they said. Yes, they was like, we need more black people. Do you know somebody? And the homie, he actually, I think he works for Cirque du Soleil now, or he does. I know he does a lot of circus work, and he lives in Vegas. So I'm not 100% sure what he's doing. But he was just like, hey, you want to come do this gig? We got 3 rehearsals, blah, 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 and you're basically freestyling. And I was like, yeah, sure. I didn't even know what, like, I was just like, yeah, it's a gig, like, whatever. And I get to the venue, and I'm like, okay, they say drive around here. I give the pass, and I see this big-ass stage. I'm sorry, can I curse? I see this giant stage and all this stuff, and I'm like, what is this? And then I pull up, and it's like, oh, your section is right here. And I'm like, section? Like, I end up getting, like, there's, like, massage rooms over there, and, like, all this wild stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. This is a thing. And I'm like, what is this thing? And it's like, oh, it's a Day for Night Festival. And you're going to open for Kendrick. And it's like, what? Like, yeah, so that routine we did, that's what it's for. I was like, okay, cool. So then I put a little extra pizzazz on it. But it was just basically a phone call, like, hey, we want a little color up there. That's honestly how it happened. And again, that was just from a random network. But just so many things just kind of happen like that. My crew, like when we danced with Pitbull in Galveston, he was for I don't know, some company. Can't remember, but a friend of mine who's a DJ, they was like, hey, we need an opener, or we need somebody that can fill up this time before the main act. Can your guys do it? I'm like, yeah.
Nice.
And they called me, and we did that, and then like so many things like that. Or after the main act, we come on. I don't know, and then even just getting the opportunity to dance with a lot of these people just from just dancing on the side, like just preparing. And they're like, yo, that's tight. Can you do that on my set? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, most definitely.
Oh man, that takes me back. Getting pulled up on stage,
yeah.
That was like the ultimate destination.
Yeah, I was like, I'm trying to get on stage.
Right.
All my check moves. Check it out. Yeah.
Okay, so have you worked with recording artists like collaboratively or on?
Yeah. Dang, I should have. I did. It's been quite a few, and it's quite a while since I revisited. But okay, so like Big Daddy Kane, LL Cool J, like as far as like being a part of the production stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Omarion.
Can we see it? Is it online?
I don't know. I don't even look for it.
Uh-huh.
It kind of happens. It happens sometimes when it's just in Houston, like, and then if they're coming to Houston, and it's like I start as one thing, like a lot of it, or not a lot of it, but some of it comes from just like I would develop a relationship with the radio station, and they were like, hey, we need an opener, or like, can y'all, be a feature in this concert? And then I go from being a feature to an act, and then like when the managers come and I'm like, hey, this part, blah 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 blah, or sound check, and then it's like, hey, well, if y'all need this, and then I'll just see the opportunity and be like, okay, well, we can fill this gap in right here, and we can do this, and just blah 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 blah, just to say we did Wu-Tang, and
cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of how that happened. It's just being there. It's just being there and just recognizing an opportunity, and then saying, I can fill this in, and this is how this works, and having your paperwork ready to just be like, this is how much it costs, or
cool,
whatever. Because no matter, their set is not finished, like, you know what I mean, or developing relationships with the dancers, that are with agencies, and linking up with them, and then like you're chilling backstage with their dancers from another state that you just know, and while you're there, y'all sessioning or whatever, and like, that's tight, can you come here? Jason Derulo, I forgot about him. Yeah, it's just, and that happened from me just hanging out with his dancers, just hanging out, and and they was like, oh, you can dance, huh? I know it. Let me see. Turn that music on. It's like, okay, can you do that? Can you do that in this set? Because like every performer has this set where they feature their dancers. Like Madonna, everybody has this like little space where they're getting ready or whatever, and they're featuring dancers. So it's like, okay, you want to come out? You want to get off on this part? Because I know I can't learn the choreography. Right. The day of that day, unless they were here for a week, and then it's like, hey, somebody, like, that's happened too, like, hey, somebody hurt themselves, can you fill in? Like, yeah, and like you got 2 days to what I mean, stuff like that. But yeah, mostly it's just educating and just saying yes, and being at the right place at the right time. So I'm lucky and blessed to have those opportunities.
Yeah,
but then once you have them enough times, it's like, this is not luck, and then you just know this right here, say it right here. This is space right here. Just put it in right there.
Cool.
So
what's your creative process?
When I'm creating, When I'm yeah, what's your career process? Give me one. Okay.
I mean, I know you freestyle a lot, but like, what does that mean to you? And with various projects that you do, like, you know, maybe different ways you approach them.
I start with the music. And then if I understand the music, then it's like it's much easier to dig into a bag and say, oh, this is invoking this and this and this and this. So what can I do with these sounds, and how can I bring this story, or how can I bring this music to life? But it starts with the music, and whatever I freestyle to, if I hear the song and I start freestyling to it, that's most likely going to be the choreography. Like, my dance is an amalgamation or a tapestry of everything that I've learned, every style that I've learned. So if it fits, if the music led me to do it, that's because it's in the music, and I don't force it. So I just throw it in there.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Who are your favorite musicians?
My favorite musicians?
Sure.
Prince. Favorite. Yeah, I really like Prince. I like D'Angelo. Miles Davis, Coltrane, Thelonious Monk. And those are the ones I really grew up with. And then there are a couple like I grew up with a lot of vinyls, so a lot of the studio the studio worker drummers and stuff, like the people that were just working for the record label, and they were just playing what's it called when they're resident, a lot of resident studio musicians that just came in, no matter the artist. Do you see them on a lot of albums because they were just a resident for Motown or Sony or whatever, but I can't think of their names. I know
session
them.
drummers.
Yeah, session drummers, right, stuff like that.
Cool. So, what do you call the kind of dance that you do?
What do I call it?
Mm-hmm.
I call it dance. I call it whatever. Mm-hmm. It's not really mystery. It's either hip hop, house, breaking. It's all street based, whacking.
Are those
Lindy? If it's Lindy Hop or jazz, all of it is street dance. I do When somebody asks me what dance style do, I say everything black. So it sounds funny, but you think everything that black people did, I do. Everything black people did and do, I do, and I incorporate it all into what I'm doing, depending on what the music's telling me to do. So I try to learn all of it.
And is there a common denominator, or what is across all of those? What is it?
What's the common denominator of all the styles that links them all together?
In addition to black.
It's the consciousness. No, it is. It's not an addition. It's the consciousness of it. The consciousness is coming from the same creative space that I believe created us, and created me. So I'm tapping into who I've always been and who I will be. So that's the link. We've always done these things. We've always done these dances and these type of things. And I'm not really doing anything new. I'm just tapping into them, and the essence of them all are kind of coming from the same place.
Do you think we all came from the same place?
As far as every person came from Africa, what are you asking me? Yeah, that's what your scientists say. That's until somebody says something different. Yeah, we all came from the same place, and certain genes changed based on geographical location and where you were in degrees to the sun, and
So when
certain things in your DNA is going to change the way like your hair is, or your eyes, or your skin. Like if you're stuck in the Caucasus Mountains and it's snowing there and there is no sunlight, your skin doesn't need to be dark because you're in snow. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like 2 black people can make an albino person, but 2 white people can't make a black person. So like
yet.
Yeah.
So when you say that you do the dance that you've always done, how would you describe it, movement-wise?
How would I describe the dance that I've always done?
The like from Africa till LeAndre Douglas, like like what's like the common thread? You're saying consciousness, and then I guess like what's the dance, or is it not physical? But it seems to manifest itself.
It manifests itself physically, but no, I think it all comes from the same place, but different eras. The music changes the way you move. Like if we think of music like vibrations, right? Like if you were looking at it on like Pro Tools or some kind of music software, and you're looking at music, it's vibrations, right? So that's what I like when people say, "Oh, it's a vibe," or the vibe. I think the energy that's put out because of the music makes the dance take on certain characteristics. But the vibe, depending on how fast it's moving, is what's gonna invoke this type of movement and that movement. But the intention of why you created it is the same, which is what I mean by like it's the same consciousness. So if the consciousness is frustration, you can hear the frustration in the music, even though it might seem melodic. So the essence of it is frustration, which is something I can relate to, which is something that I have been before. So that's going to invoke the movement. It might be twitchy or, whatever it is. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but for me, that's what it is. It's the intention behind the music. The music is going to invoke me to dance a certain way. So the feelings that humans have, black folks have felt, good or bad, is the common thing. And that's why you can kind of see these same characteristics of certain movements over and over in different pockets of place. Because we're tapping into something that dealt with a consciousness and not so much of a step. Does that make sense? I don't know. It does. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So if you take us back to like the call of the drum, can you give us like some touch points along the way up to, you said Lindy Hop, like can you tell us a little bit more about the history?
Can you? You the aficionado, no?
No, I'm talking about, you know a lot between Africa and the Savoy Ballroom.
Okay, so let's taper this question a little bit and maybe rephrase it so then I can, like, how you go from Africa to the Savoy.
I just feel like you know a lot about that era of history that I never knew about until you told me. So I'd love for you to share it. However you want to phrase the question.
When we're talking about slave ships and dancing, being forced to dance on slave ships?
You can start there. Sure, thanks.
Okay, so there are writings and documentation of how to keep slaves healthy for the voyage, right? Because it was a long voyage, and they would talk about letting them drum and dance, and they would drum and do war dances on the deck of the ship. So they would bring them up every day, and under the whip, they would force black folks to dance and play the drums, so that they could, stay healthy. And the ships, not every ship did it, but the ships that did do it were able to keep more stock. So then you get, to the mainland or in the Caribbean, which is pit stop, and then some got off there. And when you get to Virginia, Louisiana, or wherever, North Carolina, wherever you landed, after you were sold off, that you kind of kept that until the drum was banned, because they was leading revolts. Like, we were giving messages through the drum, and they were like, oh, they figured it out. Like, wait a minute, they plotting and planning through the song, and like letting people know what things mean. So songs like Wade in the Water, and it's basically giving slaves information on, look, if you're gonna run, then God's gonna trouble the water. Is not necessarily God is like gonna save you through the water, but if you jump in the water, bloodhounds can't smell your sin anymore. So stay near the water if you're gonna escape, because the water is gonna get the scent off of you so that you can actually escape. And stuff like that. So a lot of the songs were sung to kind of with coded language, and we see it now in like hip hop. Hip hop has a lot of coded language that if you're not a part of the culture, you're really not gonna understand it. You're thinking like, oh, they're just like rapping in rhyme or just whatever. But no, we put a lot of messages in the music, and the dance is also a way to hide us protecting ourselves, like for fighting styles like capoeira or anything. Like we couldn't have sticks or anything, so we would say slaves would call it playing, but it was really training through music, through the drum, on how to protect yourself. So stuff like that is what I mean when I say like genealogy.
And so I've heard after the drum was banned that the tap dancing.
Yeah, well, that like Irish people, played a part in that because, they came as indentured servants, but they brought tap with them, and if you was poor, you just kind of stayed in the same place. And the Gangs of New York actually has a small little excerpt in the movie where the guy is like watching a black tap dancer, and he's like, look at this, it's like African dance mixed with an Irish jig, and he was tap dancing. So they, poor people just kind of link together, and like with the breeding or coming together of different cultures, like different things pick up. Like, so slaves weren't all just coming from one part of the globe, especially like the word slave is Slavic, which is Africans are not Slavics, so these people are coming together and mixing and matching different dances and different sounds of music, and picking up different characteristics of each other, and these things are kind of being grafted for what we identify now. And even then it's still changing and always changing, because people are putting their seasoning and into it. So
where did the word black come from?
Black is a
and white.
That comes from a code, it's called a color codes, and it's really dealing with law. It's black in law and white in law, and white is assumed to be right. It's not actually dealing with your pigment. It's dealing with your place in society and in law. Like white is granted to be right automatically and a part of law. It's a construct created to further enslave people and also justify slavery. Because if I say black and white, now I can't tie you to a nationality, right? Japanese people or Chinese people don't come here and say I'm yellow. They say I'm Japanese, I'm Chinese. But if you can get people that are here to not be a part of a nation and not have a history, you can say black or white. There is no such thing as a black nation. I mean, okay. There's no, right. I'm saying it and it's double talk. There is such thing as a black nation now, but there is no such thing as a black nation. Like, there is no landmass that calls themselves black, right? There might have been concepts of it, but no nation call themselves black. So when you talk about Marcus Garvey, or you talking about Malcolm X, or anybody, they're talking about building a nation, under a nation, or the honorable, not the honorable Elijah Muhammad. Him too, he talks about nation building too, but Noble Drew Ali, they talk about being a part of a nation and black people being tied to a landmass, and that is where you get your justice, because they're responsible for you as they have to deal with you in law if you're a part of a nation. So if a Mexican person gets arrested in the United States, in order for them to actually charge them, they first have to contact Mexico and say, hey, we got one of your people here, and we're either going to send them back, or can we charge him here and whatever, and they have to get permission. If a Chinese person gets arrested, they have to let Chinese government know. But if you're black or white, you're chattel. It's called chattel property. You're not even actually a real person, because you're not tied to a nation. So, and it's dealing with color. That's why white is always presumed to be right, because it's white in law and black in law. It has nothing to do with your actual pigment. It's a way to keep and grant rights to certain types of people, but it's not an actual construct when it comes to world government and world law.
Will you please share about the history of that period where people were like traveling around in shows, and somebody went to Europe? You know what I'm talking about?
Master Juba?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, he was a dancer in the 5 Points. What's the famous white writer? I'm drawing a blank. What's the guy that wrote Huckleberry Finn?
Mark Twain.
Thank you. Mark Twain wrote about him. And yeah, he was a great dancer, one of the best dancers, and he battled a lot to get his place, and he battled, the best white Irish dancer they were going at, and he ended up winning, and he was actually the first black person to have his name on a marquee. He was written about by Mark Twain, and he traveled to Europe with the Ringling Brothers, and was a performer. He was a performer.
Do you have any idea what he was doing?
He was dancing.
What?
News? Oh, like,
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. No. I don't know. It just talks about how fast his feet moved, and he was doing some kind of jig. So he was a tap dancer.
What's his name again?
Master Juba. I was trying to get his real name, and I'm drawing a blank. I'm just not prepared.
Have you ever done your Master Juba?
Have I ever done my Master Juba dance? I don't know. I don't think so. I've done Master Juba like battles where you just kind of keep going at it, and first person falls. Actually, we battle like this. First person put their hands on their knees loses. And that's to indicate you're tired. So if you can just keep going and keep coming up with stuff, then you won.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's the 5 Points?
5 Points is it's not there anymore, but it was a place in New York where it all kind of met up at this one nucleus in New York, and that's Irish black community, a couple others, but mostly them.
Kind of like a town square?
Yeah, but it was 5 Points.
Oh, I see. Like the streets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they met in this place, and the Gangs of New York is about the 5 points and the development of 5 points and how the different cultures that were all meeting at this place. Yeah.
Cool. So, what? Well, like, tell me. Do you have a motto? What's your motto?
Do I have a motto? I can't necessarily take credit for the mottos that I have, but live true, dance free is one of them, and that's from Marjorie. She's not with us anymore. She's not on this earth, but she's with us in our hearts. She's a dancer from my big brothers and older crew from Dance Fusion. So that's a motto that I kind of adopted.
One's enough.
Yeah, okay, cool.
What was it like for you to work with Norma Miller?
It was... Okay, so I had a chip on my shoulder, right, at that time. And it was just like, I really feel like, and I think I still kind of have this chip on my shoulder, but it's just like, yo, we can dance out here in the South. So it was kind of just like, yo, I don't care what you throw at me. I can do it. And I'm just as good as anybody you would think you saw in Philadelphia or New York or whatever it is. So, like, I just remember it was a time of really trying to prove myself and, like, not really, I wasn't overwhelmed by the information. I was just like, yes, this makes sense. And I'm here to learn, but also I'm here to show how fast I can absorb this information because I feel like it's a part of me anyway. It's close to what I do anyway. So, but yeah, that was fun. And I always love to hear older people correct younger people, especially about dance, because they just don't lie. Like, old people just, they have the liberty to just be like, remember she was like, that ain't jazz. Wasn't no jazz steps in there. That's all wrong. And I like those kind of notes. But, you know, some people get butthurt about them. But I appreciate that because they're not going to lie to you. Maybe because they don't have time to lie. I don't know. I like that. I like being under someone where I'm not the best, and I like being under someone to where you got to earn their respect. I don't want to just come in with just like, you know, yeah, it got to be like respect has to be earned, and even if you don't like what I'm doing or you don't like me, you know that, you know, something is there that I wanted. You know, so that's what I took away from the experience. It was a great experience, but I definitely know I had something to prove, and I wanted to prove it to myself, and so that's how that experience was for me.
What did you learn from Miss Miller?
Rhythm cadences, like beep bop de bop, like those type of.
What was it?
Beep bop de bop.
Is that it?
No, it was like and like these kind of like different rhythm nuances, beep bop de bop, bop 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 beep bop de bop, like, and that's how, you know, she would teach, and I understood it because I don't know. For me, I understood it because I felt like I understood it because I was black, and we talk in those rhythms. Like when you thinking about like boom bap or hip hop, like I can actually I can hear the hip hop in the cadences, like rap cadences or beat cadences, you know. So if you take something like hip, a hop, a hip to the hip hop, and you don't stop, a rockin' to the bang bang boogie, say up jumps the boogie. You know what I mean? Like that type of cadence to beep bop, the bop 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 bop, beep bop 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 bop. Like for me, it's the same thing. Like, oh, okay, it's this rhythm. It's a rhythm. It's not a step. It's because it wasn't that we was getting the steps wrong. It was, no, the rhythm is not right. Da da da. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So for me, it just kind of merged it merged the worlds all in. It merged the worlds for me to where it's like you think these things are separate, but like they're doing the hip hop of their time, and we're doing the hip hop of our time, and everything in between is the hip hop of this time. Even though they were called different things, a lot of these characteristics, which is again the consciousness, is coming up again. People just wanting to party and, you know what I'm saying, be social. Like all these are social dances. When I at the beginning of the interview, when he was like, "How did you start dancing?" Like, we was going to clubs and just kind of, you know what I mean. They were going to clubs and just kind of doing their thing and looking at each other. They didn't have, you know, VHS tapes, but I feel like the essence of all that stuff is the same thing. So for me, just being around somebody that old and listening to her teach through cadences was the like the glue that made everything link for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Frankie Manning teaches Shim Sham?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shim Shammy. I can hear it too. Like, oh ho ho.
Yeah.
Hey hey. What is it? And then you push and you cross over and you tack in it. Like that's how I remember it because it's the rhythms. Like you know I sound like them too. That's why you laughing.
Yeah.
And I can remember things like that. I can remember. If you want me to remember it, if I'm remembering choreography, I'm putting it to a cadence. So the way I say it, the way it's said to me is what I like internalize.
It's been a while since I heard like Frankie Manning in person.
Yeah. Yeah. Who was that lady he was dancing with on that video?
Aaron Stevens.
That was his wife? No, that was just
she's the girl who called him up and said, "Are you Frankie Manning, the dancer?"
Yeah.
After he was in the Postal Service for 40 years.
Oh, that's cool. Just called him up.
Called him up from LA.
That's dope. That's a familiar story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
So yeah, you know, hearing it in rhythm, hearing it in time and rhythm helps me remember what it is, know what it is, and internalize it because we're all rhythmatic. I don't care who you like. We all hear music the same. It's just the way we link to it, right? So the way I'm clapping right now and talking, like you can match it as music, right? Because we all do things to a time, right? And even if you think about your heartbeat, right? Your heart beats and it's a rhythm, like
syncopated.
Do 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 do. No matter how fast the music is, your heart can sync to the music. So
cool. Yeah, and just circling back to me asking you what kind of dance you do, which, you know, I mean, I figured you'd say dance. I didn't really know. Because we always have to say something, you know, like hip hop with LeAndre or so, you know, just so people like know what it is, you know, before they see it. But I think just that concept of hop it is an informal word for dance. And I think everybody's been hopping around, you know, for like forever. And then maybe just hop is like just that thing that we just do, you know? It's like no rhyme or reason or effort.
Yeah. It's just kind of like, why do we dance as humans? Like it doesn't serve us for a purpose. Like fashion can be explained because like, well, humans need clothing. So like the art of fashion making, right? The clothes that we wear, the designs that are on them, is like, it's an embellishment of a necessity. Shelter, architecture is an embellishment of a necessity to, you know, shelter ourselves, and food, culinary arts is a necessity to eat. And, you know, we're adding art to these things that are a necessity, but is it a necessity to dance? Why do we do it? And I don't know. I like doing it. And I think it's something spiritual for everybody that engages in it. And I don't know. I just think we do it because we can. Because we can. I don't think it's not like any other art to where it's a means to survival or something like that. But then again, it could be. But what I mean by survival is like necessity, like the basic necessities of life. dance is not necessary for.
I mean, life's got to be worth living.
Yeah, right, for sure. I think we dance because we can. That's what. But as far as a necessity to live, which is why most of the people in your classes have never danced, because it's not necessarily a necessity for them to live. They gotta eat, they gotta wear clothes, and they gotta have a house. So those are the only things they can relate to, because it's a necessity, right? But dance is like, it's a luxury, or there's no really rhyme or reason of why we do it. It could be argued maybe courtship. It could be argued to get closer to God. Like when you think about Thailand and the way they dance for their gods, and they have to like hit every posture exactly the way that the god or the deity would do it, or to invoke a spirit, or you talk about West African dances where you're doing it to honor a spirit, or to honor a time season, to honor a time and season, or a rain dance to, you know, get gods to show mercy on you by dancing. You know, those are things dealing with spiritual. So that's why I say it's more of a spiritual thing.
Cool. So let's close with you giving us your advice for, like, if we wanted to dance more like you.
Dance more like me?
But we can't take a class from you or whatever. Just listening only. What can we do?
If you were just to listen to me to learn how to dance?
Like right now, give us an assignment so that we can be better dancers. And like from not, I mean, I'm not trying to win a competition. But
I get you.
Like,
give me, to, you know, right.
Send us off.
So don't hear the music. Listen to the music. Listen to the music. And if that means taking the same song and listening to it 1,000 times over, listen to the music and let the music choreograph you. That's another motto. Music is a choreographer. That's from Tyrone Proctor. But the music is a choreographer. The music is going to tell your body what to do. And if you listen with intent to let the music tell you what to do, you're never going to run out of material. You're never going to not know what to do, even if you don't have the vocabulary. If you can't physically do it, your mind is going to see it. And a lot of people say that, like, I can see it, but I just can't physically do it. That's because your body knows what to do. You know what to do. It's just connecting it with the music. So start with the music.
My guest today has been LeAndre Douglas.
Oh yeah, we had a camera. Hey.
LeAndre, thank you for being a part of Dance Talks.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe and share our podcast, and reach out to us on social media if you'd like to talk. To support Dance Talks, donate to Dance Houston. Talk to you on Monday.